Hey everyone, this is Warren. Today we're going to talk about, as the title clearly states, why aren't you successful? Now, many of you probably have tried a variety of programs, you know, internet marketing, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, real estate, stock market trading. You've probably tried a variety of vehicles to start your own business, to start your road to success. And for the most part, you're still finding failure. Well, for the most, well, you more probably will interpret it as failure because that's what we've been taught. Um, if you attempt to do something and it does not succeed, general society will interpret that as failure. And we're going to talk in a general sense for now. On another occasion, we're going to talk about what truly is failure and how you can reinterpret failure as just steps on your way to a successful life. But for this conversation, we're going to talk more about why aren't you succeeding at this time. Now, what brought me to this conversation was that I was talking to someone, and the person was not necessarily asking me for advice. We were just discussing ideas from other teachers about success. And the person mentioned to me, when I gave an example of a well-known personal development author, lecturer, that what was there for me to learn, I can get out of the presentation. What was there for the person to learn, they can get out of the same conversation. But it really got me to think that many of you are actually filtering out important information. How many of you have read books like Think and Grow Rich, 7 Success Traits, a variety of books on personal development, mind stuff, as some folks refer to it as, and you're still having the same challenges? Magic of Belief, The Game of Life, Flourish Borsheim. There's so many books, The Master Key. There's so many books out there on developing The Secret. So many books, so many teachers. The Bible, As a Man Thinketh, So Is He. There's so many jewels out there that folks have left for us. And you've probably read a few of them, and you're still struggling. You're still in the same position you were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You haven't really moved forward. And the question is why? And in listening to that person speak, I realized it didn't matter how many books the person read. It didn't matter how many audios the person listened to. There was program in that person's subconscious that's running that filters out aspects of the teachings that they've heard. So even though that person can claim, I've read this book and I've read that book and I've listened to this author and I went to that seminar and lecture, because of the programs still running in their minds, there's a deliberate unconscious filtering of information. So the person never gets enough information to take the right steps. And usually that filtering comes from past experiences that are superimposed on the information that they're learning. So they're only looking for information that reinforces their belief. On a subconscious level. They're only looking for information that reinforces their belief system. Is that you? You see, if your belief system hasn't changed, it doesn't matter what you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you want to start a car wash or create a marketing company, or it doesn't matter if you want to start a Dunkin' Donuts. It doesn't matter, because the belief system is still the same. And no matter what information you receive, you always filter out, because what doesn't support your belief gets kicked out. And you're always in a situation where you don't have enough information. That's why it occurred to me that the person's lack of success was primarily based on the fact that even with all the authors and lecturers, personal development information she's listened to and heard, it didn't make a difference. And until that person realizes that, they can keep listening to all the things they want to, attend all the seminars, and know the information consciously. But what's happening on a subconscious level filters out everything else. Let's take a look at it this way. And I want you guys to do an exercise with me. And I'm going to repeat this at the end. But any book, lecture, seminar you've heard that you have an interest in the product or service or the information, how many of you actually take notes as you're listening and reviewing? How many of you have actually taken notes? You see, it's important to take notes because it starts as a point of reference for you in the process of limiting your filtering. Part 2 is, as you've taken the notes, repeat the information, the lecture, the seminar again. Not immediately after. Digest what you've learned, you've heard, you've read. But then, a few hours later, a day later, listen to the information again. This time, take additional notes, but not the notes that you've already taken. You see, what's going to happen, you're going to realize how much you've actually missed when you take the notes for the second time, and even a third or fourth or fifth time. You see, each of us, our minds on a subconscious level, no, not our subconscious mind, excuse me, our conscious mind filters. I remember listening to a program many years ago about this young man. He was in England, and he had the ability to reproduce any picture that he saw. The young man was an autistic child, and down to the detail, the most minor of details, things that we never would think of, he would capture in the pictures. And one of the exercises they did, they took this child up, I think it was in a helicopter, and they flew him around the city of London, and then asked him to draw the landscape, the buildings, the towers. And without fail, he drew everything exactly. What was understood, somehow the autism affected him in a way that there was no filter. So whatever he saw, unconsciously, on a subconscious level, he was able to produce exactly. See, most of us, our conscious mind filters. And in conjunction with the programs that we've had in us, in many cases since childhood, these programs help to filter the things that we need, the things that will help us change our lives, the thing that will help us get on the track, lose weight, find love, be successful in business. So over time, we filter all these things out. And those programs override all the information that would come in that can be a benefit to us. But the way you correct that is, one, understanding that you are filtering. God has given each of you, each of us, all the tools that are necessary for us to be successful. Many of you blame others. My mother didn't treat me right as a child. My father abused me. This person didn't like me. I was not good. The teachers didn't like me in school. You know, I was ugly. I was fat. I was too skinny. I was too many pimples. We have so many excuses. But it's all part of the filtering. All part of that overriding program that's in us. That sabotaging program. We sabotage ourselves in so many different ways. Consciously and in some many ways unconsciously. And part of that sabotage comes through how we filter the information that's given to us that we know can be beneficial, because somebody is utilizing it and using it successfully. And in many cases, a lot of the things that you guys have bought, programs you've bought, courses you've bought, seminars you've attended, you know many people have probably been successful in that same thing. But the question is, why aren't you? Why aren't you successful in it? Most people that attend seminars, workshops, purchase courses, I would dare say 90% of you will fail at the program. Because you've filtered out a lot of the components that will help you to succeed. That's why most of you are always on a track looking and searching. You go from one program to the next program. Some people refer to it as moving from one shiny object to the next shiny object. And how many thousands of dollars have you spent? How many hundreds of dollars have you spent? Now, let me get it clear for you. There is nothing wrong with spending money. Matter of fact, to be successful, either you're going to spend your own money or you're going to spend somebody else's money, but you're going to have to learn. In particular, if it's in a subject area that you have no experience in. You've got to learn. You've got to develop some level of expertise. Now, this does not mean you are required to do every aspect of the business in order for it to succeed. But you've got to understand what the hell you're doing. That will enable you to hire the right people and position yourself correctly that you can receive benefit from relationships and other things that's going to help you to become successful in that area. So there's nothing wrong with spending money. You have to spend money to learn. Anybody that tells you you don't, they're lying to you. You've got a lot of people out there that don't want to spend any money. They're always looking for freebies. And at the end of the day, they have nothing to show for it. They'll be in the same place they are now 5, 10, 15 years from now. So understand, at some point, you're going to spend your own money or you're going to spend somebody else's money in order for you to learn. You can only gather so much sitting in a library or on the internet. At some point, you're going to have to pay for something. Now, the question is, do you use your money or do you use somebody else's money? But, getting back to what we're talking about, at the end of the day, it's about what we're filtering out. How we're filtering this information. And that's why I gave you the exercise. Take notes. And you guys have probably heard it many times. A lot of folks tell you take notes while you're listening to the lecture, take notes while you're listening to the seminar, take notes while you're reading the book. I remember a mentor of mine, we were talking about reading the Bible one day, and he said something very interesting. He said, Warren, I've read the Bible probably more than a dozen times already. And each time I get a different level of understanding. Primarily because each time he reads it, there's a new level of information that he has to help him decipher and understand deeper what he's reading. So wherein that someone being introduced to it initially may only read it on a tertiary level, on a literal basis. Someone who is more astute and studied will have a deeper comprehension of what they're reading. And that relates to a lot of different books. I just use the Bible as an example. But you have to understand that as you listen to information, regardless of where it comes from, which teacher is bringing it to you, conveying it to you, it's important that you understand through the process of filtering, it tends to limit the things that we're learning. And that's why it's important to, one, recognize that you may be limiting yourself by filtering. automatically on a subconscious level. But two, once you recognize that fact, then you start the process of unfiltering, taking in all the information, not just what suits your belief system. Because if you function from your belief only, there is no change, there is no growth, you will not get to the next level. If your belief was enough, for the most part, you would not be listening to this recording. But once you recognize that I have to change those underlying beliefs, then you will start seeing changes in your life. And this applies to everything. It doesn't matter. You want a better job? You want more money at your job? It doesn't matter. You want a better looking girlfriend? You want to be happier? You want a better husband? But you've got to change your beliefs. See, most people think that the challenges of the world starts outside of themselves. But you've got to understand, you are a creator yourself. You are a creator yourself. God has endowed you with the ability to create your own reality. And if you're not creating your reality, somebody else is creating it for you. And you may not like what you're creating. And you may end up contributing to the reality that you don't want. But it all starts within you. There's a scripture that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. But that man, that person has to realize that you also have to change those underlying beliefs. Because I know many of you, if you're like me, how I was a few years ago, you're daydreaming about, brand new mansion or a mansion, daydreaming about, nice car. Well, because of my eyesight, I said, well, I'm not going to get a car. I still want to get a Lambo. For those of you guys who are old enough, I remember when Miami Vice came out, and Don Johnson was driving that white Lamborghini. And ever since then, I said I was going to get myself a Lamborghini. And if I had not become visually impaired, that would have been one of the driving forces in my life to obtain success, would have been to get that Lamborghini. And I still want one. And I intend to have one. But at the end of the day, those of us who are still just dreaming and don't put that effort forward into manifestation, all we are is just dreaming. You've got to move to a point now to bring those dreams into reality. But that requires that you understand that there are things that are going on inside of you that may be limiting you to where you're at. And by a process of filtering the information that's coming out to support existing belief systems, we may never achieve what we desire because of that fact. So I want you to think about that. I want you to listen as part of your exercise. Whatever program you feel you can use to bring you to a level of success, listen to it, review it, but take notes this time. Take notes the first time you're listening to it, then go back again a few hours, a day later, and take notes again. Do not repeat the same notes. And you keep repeating that process, and you'll find that within a time, all the information that will help you to become successful in that endeavor you will have at your disposal. And you'll realize from when you started how much you actually filtered. That's why so oftentimes many of us, we join programs, we try it, we don't succeed, we move on to something else, not realizing that it was not the program that didn't work. It was our way of approaching and thinking and filtering that stopped us from becoming successful. Remember, this process applies to anything that you want to succeed in life. It's not just about business. Though most of my talks are related to business, some of the information strategies that you'll learn can be applied in any aspect of your life. I want you to be successful. Look out for some of the other series on limiting beliefs and other areas that will, once you become aware of these things, will put you in a position where you will no longer sabotage yourself. And understand, again, don't put yourself in a situation. It's easy to blame others why you're not successful. But there's a point that you got to take the responsibility for yourself. You got to internalize it and recognize that I am the creator of my own reality. And once you recognize that, no one can stop you. Reinforce that belief within yourself. I am the creator of my own reality. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next discussion.